Abdul Carter isn't big enough to be an NFL defensive end. Abdul Carter was drafted and everybody said, oh, he's a Micah Parsons type. That's just code for being too small to play D end. Every single game, Abdul Carter is getting literally lifted off of his feet by an offensive lineman and bench pressed because these guys are way bigger and stronger than him. Offensive linemen in the NFL are 6'6", 290 pounds of solid muscle. Abdul Carter is 6'2", 225 pounds, and speed doesn't always work at D end. Sometimes Abdul Carter's job is to put his head into an offensive lineman, make a play at the line of scrimmage, and get a tackle for loss. Abdul Carter can't Abdul Carter can't physically dominate any offensive lineman in the NFL, and that's why he has 0 sacks. When he has to touch somebody, he the moment that Abdul Carter has to touch somebody, he gets taken out of the play. Speed was his only attribute. That's what an outside linebacker does. Abdul Carter should be playing walk up outside linebacker for the New York Giants if he wants any of his skills to be effective. But being a Micah Parsons type just means that you're undersized. Abdul Carter was drafted third overall because they said he played like Micah Parsons. Abdul Carter was drafted third overall because they said he's a Micah Parsons type. All that means is that he's undersized. Abdul Carter is 6'2", 235 pounds, and every single game, NFL offensive linemen are bench pressing him and lifting him off of his feet because he's not big enough to be on the field with some of those guys. Abdul Carter is a walk up outside linebacker. He he doesn't need to be putting his hand in the dirt every play because part of Abdul Carter's job is to make a play at the line of scrimmage, get a tackle for loss, or a sack. Abdul Carter doesn't have any sacks this year because he can't collapse the pocket. If Abdul Carter can't run around an offensive lineman, he's immediately taken out of the play because the moment that he is to touch somebody and it becomes a matter of strength, he's getting thrown backwards and he has no control of what happens the rest of the play after that. Abdul Carter was not a third overall draft pick. You couldn't pick somebody because they look like Micah Parsons and wore the same number as Micah Parsons in college. Abdul Carter got drafted third overall because they said he was a Micah Parsons type. But realistically, Abdul Carter just tricked everybody in the world. Abdul Carter went to Penn State right behind Micah Parsons, and he said, well, what if I just wore the number 11 and I looked like him in these jerseys because Penn State has no name on the back of the pants? That's how Abdul Carter got his name. He just copied the exact same jersey and uniform that Micah Parsons was wearing at Penn State. He had a couple good seasons, and then NFL owners and then the New York Giants convinced themselves that this guy was Micah Parsons. Realistically, Abdul Carter is just an undersized defensive end. He's 6'3", 235 pounds, and every single game he finds himself getting lifted off of his feet by an offensive lineman and driven backwards. That's not a Micah Parsons type. That's just an undersized defensive end. Abdul Carter is realistically a walk up outside linebacker in the NFL. He's not big enough to have his hand in the dirt every single play. Tyron Stokes is the number one basketball recruit in America, and he just dropped out of high school. Tyron Stokes went to Notre Dame High School in California. He said, oh, it's my senior year. I'll never get to do this again. Let me go play football. Let me go play football for the first time in my life because I want to be a part of the spotlight. Then Tyron Stokes, before high school basketball season even begins, is kicked out of high school because of Conduct detrimental to the football team. So if Tyron Stokes had never gone and played football and lived out these dreams that he had, he would still be the number one high school basketball player in America, suiting up to go play basketball because he's a basketball player. He's the reason why if you're the number one overall recruit in the country for basketball, what in the world are you doing putting on football pads at all? Somebody could have hit him and hurt him. But this situation is turning out to be much worse than that. Byron Stokes, all he had to do was just wait for basketball season, play basketball, commit to a college, and he was fine. But Tyron Stokes hasn't even committed to college yet, and colleges like Arkansas and John Calipari don't want to recruit him anymore. So Tyron Stokes has already cost himself millions and millions of dollars, and he hasn't even committed to college yet. What people don't realize about Jalen Hurts is that his elite attribute as a quarterback is having no ego. Having no ego at quarterback changes the way that the Philadelphia Eagles are able to play as a team. Jalen Hurts doesn't care if he turns around and hands the ball off to Saquon Barkley 150 times a game, as long as the Eagles win. Jalen Hurts doesn't care if he's asked to run the ball himself or tush push, as long as the Eagles win. That's a different mindset than 95% of the quarterbacks in today's NFL. Every other quarterback comes into the league wanting stats, recognition, all pro teams. Jalen Hurts wants Super Bowls. He's said that consistently and consistently. Jalen Hurts has won at every level. Jalen Hurts was Jalen Hurts has won at every level of his entire career because he has no ego. Jalen Hurts doesn't care about the stats, the passing yards. I don't even know if we've seen a Jalen Hurts highlight, but does he care about that? Absolutely not. And that's what makes Jalen Hurts a top two quarterback in the NFL. There's no quarterback in the entire league who I would want on my team over Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts guarantees me a win every single game. If you suited up tomorrow as an NFL wide receiver, you would if you suited up tomorrow as an NFL wide receiver, you would want Matthew Stafford throwing you the football over any other quarterback in the entire NFL. When you look at Matthew Stafford's career and rewind, Matthew Stafford is who people thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be. Matthew Stafford has been the best quarterback in the NFL for almost Matthew Stafford has been the best quarterback in the NFL for almost 16 years at this point. He's done it on the Lions, he's done it on the Rams, but he's made every wide receiver that he's ever played with look like a superstar. Matthew Stafford had people talking about Calvin Johnson as one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. Matthew Stafford convinced people that 6'1" Puka Nakua is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now. And it's because Matthew Stafford is one of the most skilled guys who's ever played the game. Half the passes that Matthew Stafford throws are no look balls thrown on the dime. How there's only Patrick Mahomes can't throw half the passes that Matthew Stafford makes. No other quarterback in the league can throw no look passes 25 yards downfield. If Larry Bird played in today's NBA, he would be Joe Ingles. They have the exact same basketball game. They're the exact same height. When Larry Bird was playing basketball, those guys had part-time jobs. So the guys guarding Larry Bird, when Larry Bird was playing basketball, those other guys had part-time jobs. So Larry Bird's the only guy out on the court practicing all day, every day. So nobody had seen somebody consistently make jump shots because nobody had time to practice jump shots all day when you have to go to work at the supermarket afterwards. Joe Ingles is Joe Ingles today is everything that Larry Bird ever was when he was playing basketball. Knockdown jump shooter, he can handle the ball, he plays defense, and he does all of that at 6'8". Saying that Larry Bird isn't Joe Ingles is disrespectful. But there's no way that Larry Bird would be a top 10 NBA player of all time. Larry Bird wouldn't be a top 25 NBA player in the league today because everybody can shoot jump shots now. Everybody can play on both ends now, offense and defense. There's nothing that Larry Bird could do. There's nothing that Larry Bird could do that Andrew Wiggins can't go on the court and do right now. The NBA has adapted. The NBA has adapted. And when Larry Bird was playing, he was one of the best guys in the league. But if you look at the rest of the competition today, you can't realistically believe that Larry Bird's a top 10 player of all time. DeMar DeRozan is the only player in the world who couldn't play on any other basketball court that wasn't the NBA. When DeMar DeRozan played in the Drew League, during the NBA lockout, LeBron James and DeMar DeRozan went and played in the Drew League. And DeMar DeRozan got locked down every single play. There were guys coming off of the street barking in DeMar DeRozan's face because the game he plays doesn't work outside of the NBA. DeMar DeRozan is 6'7" and he plays back to the basket fadeaway mid-range basketball. In 2025, that's not a game that you can take anywhere in the world. So DeMar DeRozan went to the Drew League, and there was a guy calling his move every time before he did it because it's either left or it's right. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander must realize that there's no Hall of Fame for foul baiting. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will never be a Hall of Fame player with zero NBA highlights. The only Every time that you see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's going through the lane, ducking down, pump faking 3 times, leaning into the guy, falling down, fading away, and shooting the ball up. There's absolutely no way that people are going to let that happen for 20 years in a row and then call him the greatest basketball player of all time. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can't take his game anywhere outside of the NBA rules. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went to the Olympics and his Canada team was eliminated first round because FIBA basketball rules don't call touch fouls every single time you shoot the ball. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went to the Olympics and he tried flopping over and over and over and he wasn't getting those calls. So Canada went home before the real Olympics even started. They were the first team out. Shai Gilgeous, if it wasn't No real NBA player is going through the lane looking for a foul every single time. If any NBA player can go down the lane and look and draw a foul every single time, the refs have to stop giving that call to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or else he's just going to keep doing it forever. But if you want to make that the rules, call it for everybody. You would have games with 160 foul calls if you treated everybody on the floor the way that you treat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Zach LaVine has been in the NBA for 11 years, and he hasn't done anything except dunk the basketball. As soon as Zach LaVine is introduced to a basketball team, they tank immediately. The Chicago Bulls before Zach LaVine had Derrick Rose, and they were an NBA playoff contender, one of the best teams in the league. Zach LaVine gets there, and they become the laughing stock of the NBA. The Sacramento Kings, before they got Zach LaVine, they were lighting the beam every single night. They had one of the best fan bases in the nation. Zach LaVine gets there. Now the Sacramento Kings are 3-6. Something Zach LaVine is the reason why the teams he's on aren't winning. If you can't do anything except dunk the basketball, how can you be the star player for your NBA team? Zach LaVine is too one sided, and he's not the player that NBA teams can build around. He needs to be a role player he needs to be a role player and a strictly shooting guard. Put him in positions to score only, and don't expect him to be a ball handler for your NBA team. Jalen Williams is the only core piece of an NBA team that I've ever seen who doesn't actually get in the basketball games. I've never seen Jalen Williams wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. M- I've never seen Jalen Williams wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey on the basketball court. I've only seen Jalen Williams post game behind somebody doing an interview or on the float parade. Or somehow these guys, the reporters in Oklahoma City, will walk up to Jalen Williams with a microphone after the game and ask him what he thought. He didn't play. You could watch the game from the stands and have the exact same takeaway that Jalen Williams has as a player on the Oklahoma City Thunder. But he's a part of their young core. He's an unmovable piece for the Thunder. It doesn't make any sense at all. If he was so important to the Oklahoma City Thunder, why don't you guys let him play and get some shots up? LeBron James LeBron James is the reason that the Los Angeles Lakers will never win with LeBron James. LeBron James legit The reason is that LeBron James legitimately believes that he's still a 42-year-old point guard who deserves to be dominating the ball at the top of the key. LeBron James at this point of his career is stat padding every single year. He doesn't pass the ball unless it's for an assist. You've never seen LeBron James just move the ball for the sake of creating good offense. So guys like Austin Reeves get in the playoffs and they struggle because they're not put in successful situations to shoot the ball. They only get to shoot the ball if they backdoor somebody and LeBron can pass it for an assist. LeBron James doesn't need to be handling the ball for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James needs to be playing his role as a small forward. He needs to be playing offense and he needs to be a lockdown defender for the Lakers because LeBron's 42 and he can't score the way that he used to. So if he doesn't want to play defense on the other end, he's already a negative contributor to the team. And then on top of that, he still thinks he's a point guard. Luka Doncic is the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James needs to be playing the three, watching Luka Doncic shoot, and then running back on defense and making sure that his man doesn't score. That's what LeBron James' role is on the Los Angeles Lakers. And unless he actually takes on that role, the Lakers will never win anything. LeBron James spent 16 years of his NBA career ring chasing. LeBron James has played with every great player in the entire league: Dwayne Wade, Shaquille O'Neal, Kyrie Irving, Ray Allen, Chris Bosh, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic. There's absolutely nobody in the NBA who LeBron James hasn't played with. And so when you look at LeBron's resume and you say that this guy's played basketball for 22 years and he's only won 4 times, that's not an impressive ratio. And then you look at two of LeBron James' NBA titles. LeBron James won his LeBron James won a title during the NBA lockout, so that has an asterisk next to it. And LeBron James won a title in the bubble, so that has an asterisk next to it. LeBron James' resume, once he retires, is going to be looked at under the microscope, and people are going to look at him for the first time and say, he played for a while, but what did he accomplish when he was on the floor? Nothing. James Harden has been a better scorer than Kevin Durant his entire career. You've never seen Kevin Durant on a basketball team by himself ever. And you've never seen Kevin Durant lead that team in scoring. And you've never seen Kevin Durant average 40 points a game. Kevin Durant is successful because he's always put himself around other great players during his entire career. So that gives Kevin Durant more one on one opportunities than James Harden has ever seen. Kevin Durant is 6'11, so they call him the greatest scorer ever. What about the defense? If he's the greatest scorer ever, wouldn't he be one of the best basketball players of all time? No, because he's a defensive liability. James Harden scores better than Kevin Durant. And James Harden will go back on the other end of the floor and play defense. The only reason that James Harden doesn't get as much credit as Kevin Durant is because he took the more honorable route and he backpacked every team that he's been on his entire career. He never looked to go play with anybody else. He never went to go chase a ring. James Harden just stayed where he was and averaged 40 points a game. James Harden is the best scorer that the NBA has ever seen. Cooper Flag is not Cooper Flag is 9 games into his NBA career, and he's exactly who I said he would be. The Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks are 2-7. So if Cooper Flag was anything like a young LeBron James, he would have turned the organization around. Much less, Cooper Flag's teammates are Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford. Cooper Flag is on a star-studded team, and he can't get them. Cooper Flag is on a star-studded team, and they're 2-7. So think about if you had put 19-year-old. So think about if you had put 19-year-old LeBron James on the Dallas Mavericks today. They would be undefeated. Cooper Flag is not Cooper Flag is not who all of those articles made him seem like at Duke. Cooper Flag is a one-dimensional basketball player who is developing a good game, and he's still young. Period. He's not the next best player in the league. He's not an up and coming superstar, and he's not great. Cooper Flag is just young. Period. Jared McCain is pacing to break NBA records like nobody's ever done before. Jared McCain is going to be the first NBA player to get a victory. Jared McCain is going to be the first NBA player to get on the Victoria's Secret runway. Everything that Jared McCain does is different. He wants to be a TikTok model. He wants to be a social and media influencer. He wants to be all of these things just in case basketball doesn't work out. Jared McCain's backup plan is social media, and he started that before he even got into the NBA. So do you think that Jared McCain believes in his jump shot? Do you think that Jared McCain believes in his defense? If Jared McCain was betting on himself, he would be in the basketball gym 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because he could get a $100 million guaranteed contract 3 years from now. But instead, Jared McCain has over 500 posts on TikTok dancing because he wants to make sure that his backup plan is in place just in case basketball doesn't work out. Jared McCain is on a record-breaking pace. He's going to get the most sponsorships, he's going to have the most collaborations, and he's going to do the most TikTok dances that the NBA has ever seen. Jonathan Kuminga will never be the starting piece on an NBA. Jonathan Kuminga will never be a starting piece on a winning NBA team. There's 100 Jonathan Kumingas in the NBA. Anybody, guys who are 6'9", athletic, and can dunk are a dime a dozen in the NBA. That's what it's those are the baseline requirements to get into the NBA. And those are Jonathan Kuminga's strengths. In order to be a piece of a winning team, you need to be skilled, you need to play defense, you need to be unselfish, and you have to be able to shoot. Jonathan Kuminga can't do any of those things, and he's 5 years into his NBA career. So that's not changing. Jonathan Kuminga is not going to go to the basketball gym for a week and develop all of those intangibles. So the Golden State Warriors have to move Jonathan Kuminga because you can go get another Jonathan Kuminga from the G League tomorrow. There are bouncy athletic guys all over the NBA. All you have to do is call one, and they'll do everything that Jonathan Kuminga does for you right now.